The disappearance of flight MH370 is one of the biggest mysteries in modern aviation history. Let's remind you of the story.
For over 10 years, MH370 has remained one of aviation's darkest, most haunting mysteries. 239 people vanished, and not a single clear answer. But now, artificial intelligence has reanalyzed the final data, and what it uncovered is chilling. The newly mapped flight path doesn't point to a crash zone we've seen before. It leads somewhere far off, somewhere no one ever seriously considered, somewhere that should be impossible. The deeper the AI dug, the stranger the path became.
Of the 239 passengers and crew who were aboard Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. On Saturday, it will be 11 years since the Boeing 777 disappeared.
What really happened in those final hours? Join us in this video as we discuss the details. The final impossible flight path of MH370. Back in March 2024, during a memorial in Malaysia for the 10th anniversary of the missing flight, MH370, a man named VPR Nathan, who lost a relative on the plane, shared some visual slides. These images showed that a company called Ocean Infinity was getting ready to begin a new deep-sea search to try and find the missing plane. The planned search area followed a part of the ocean called the 7th Arc, between latitudes 33 and 36 degrees, and stretched about 45 nautical miles on each side. The company also said they wanted to go back to certain places where earlier searches had failed due to equipment problems or rough underwater land. The search zone Nathan showed included what experts had named the last estimated position, or LEP. It was marked as the IG hotspot in his presentation. This was considered a key area that hadn't been searched properly before, partly because of the difficult sea floor in that region, which had steep slopes. Things started to move forward later in the year. On December 20th, 2024, Malaysia's government gave early approval to work with Ocean Infinity again. Then, on March 19th, 2025, Malaysia's Transport Minister, Anthony Loke, officially said the cabinet had agreed to the terms. The deal was set up as a no-find, no-fee arrangement, meaning Ocean Infinity would only get paid if they found something. If they succeeded, they could earn up to $70 million. A week later, on March 26th, a group representing the families of MH370 victims said a contract had been signed. However, neither the government nor Ocean Infinity confirmed it, so the news remained unofficial. Even without a final deal in place, Ocean Infinity began the mission. They used a ship called Armada 7806, along with 3 underwater robot AUVs, and started searching in 2 separate phases. Now, the ship is headed to Singapore. Here's what happened during the 2 phases. Armada 7806 left Mauritius and reached the search area. The first round of scanning began on February 23 and ended on February 28. Afterward, the ship sailed to Fremantle for supplies. Most of the area searched during this phase had already been looked at in earlier missions by Ocean Infinity and ATSB. However, the first phase focused on parts where earlier data had been incomplete due to underwater slopes or tool problems. So, this time, the team concentrated on filling those gaps rather than starting from scratch. One key part of this phase was going over what's called the high-priority search zone. After resupplying, the ship started the second phase on March 11th and searched until March 28th. Then, it changed course towards Singapore. This time, they explored areas that hadn't been scanned before. The newly searched spots were farther southwest and broader than the ones shown in Ocean Infinity's 2024 plan. This suggests the company might be expanding its search beyond the original plan. Something strange happened before the second phase began. As Armada 7806 moved back toward the search zone, it looked like it was heading to an area already checked during Phase 1. But on March 10th, the ship suddenly changed direction and went southwest instead, to places that hadn't been scanned yet. If that redirection hadn't happened, a purple line in the map shows where the ship probably would have gone. Some experts believe that AI played a key role in analyzing the final flight path of MH370 by processing satellite data, fuel usage, autopilot behavior, and past flight patterns. Through deep learning models trained on thousands of flight scenarios, AI helped trace a likely path ending deep in the southern Indian Ocean. But here's the twist. Where that path ends is a place so remote, so harsh, and so unexplored that it almost feels like the ocean itself is hiding something. It's a place no one expected, and maybe a place no one was ever meant to find. A black oval in the map shows an area where both phases might have overlapped, which hints they may have found something interesting. If the final flight path of MH370 leads to a place once thought impossible, then how are new technology and fresh efforts changing the search and renewing hope? Stay tuned for more. Renewed hopes, new technology, and a relentless search. A new chapter in the mystery of Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 is unfolding as Ocean Infinity plans another deep-sea search. In March 2014, MH370, with 239 passengers, vanished while flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The plane was guessed to have crashed in the quiet southern Indian Ocean after losing connection less than an hour after takeoff. The hunt is still going on after over 10 years, encouraged by renewed ideas, upgrade in technology, and solid interest. Ocean Infinity is a marine robotics company in the United States. The business searched very well for MH370 back in 2018, but they were not able to find the damaged parts. They are currently getting ready for another try. Their technological advancements and fresh data access are what set this new expedition apart. Company officials claim that more sophisticated robotic ships and submersible vehicles have been added to their fleet. These unmanned vessels are quicker and more effective than conventional search ships, since they can cover a lot of ground without having personnel on board. Malaysia, Australia, and China searched the ocean floor for MH370 between 2014 and 2017, covering an area of almost 120,000 square kilometers, but they were unable to find anything. In 2018, Ocean Infinity joined the hunt and searched about 112,000 square kilometers under an agreement with the Malaysian government. Even though they didn't find the plane, the data gathered in that mission helped scientists better understand the ocean terrain and guided new theories about where the wreckage might be. This time, Ocean Infinity plans to search an area that has remained mostly unexplored. This location is based on satellite data and other models, including recent findings from a technology called WSPR. WSPR, short for Weak Signal Propagation Reporter, is a system that tracks radio signals bouncing around the globe. It wasn't designed to track planes, but some experts believe it may hold clues about MH370's path. The idea is that, as the aircraft flew through the sky, it disturbed radio waves, leaving a trail that can now be studied. While this method is still debated by some in the scientific community, Ocean Infinity says they are open to all useful information, including WSPR data, to improve their chances of success. Ocean Infinity's CEO has said they are highly motivated to bring closure to the families who have waited far too long for answers. They are also working closely with independent researchers and aviation experts who have studied the case for years. It's still unclear what exactly happened to MH370 or why it veered off course. The plane's transponder, which allows it to be tracked, was turned off about 40 minutes into the flight. According to radar and satellite data, the plane turned quickly to the west, past the Malaysian peninsula, and then went south for a lot of hours. Parts of the wing from MH370, which was found on Reunion Island in 2015, are among the pieces of damaged parts that have washed up on Indian Ocean shores. These findings show that the plane ended up in the ocean, but they do not lead to the main damage. Ocean Infinity's most recent interest is important because it may be the best chance to find the fuselage, flight recorders, and other pieces of proof that are needed to solve the mystery. The offer shows how strong the belief of the company in its technology and how loyal it is to solving one of aviation's greatest mysteries. The fate of MH370 is still one of the biggest mysteries in the world 10 years later. However, the answer might finally be in reach because of upgrades in robotics, fresh data, and the ability of those who continue to hunt. The world keeps waiting and watching in the hopes that the water will eventually reveal its secret. If Ocean Infinity's high-tech fleet and new data are bringing us closer to the truth, then what are the possible theories we're trying to prove or disprove about MH370's final moments? Let's find out. Unsolved theories. What really happened to MH370? Since MH370 went missing, a lot of talks and views have been brought up about what really happened. How a large jet carrying 239 people might vanish without a trace is still a mystery to many. While some experts believe it was an accident, others speculate that it might have been intentional. These theories are backed up by the plane's strange paths, the lack of a help signal, and the fact that there has never been much damage found. One widely held belief is that Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, the pilot, may have taken over the plane and caused it to crash on purpose. According to some stories, he had used his home flight simulator to fly the same path. That idea has raised a lot of questions about his mental state and whether he might have been planning something. However, not everybody agrees with this. Some say that the evidence is not enough and that the pilot's actions before the flight were normal. Another idea is that the plane system failed and no one saw it coming. These failures might be fire or lack of oxygen. According to some, the plane was still flying on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the water, leaving the crew and passengers somehow asleep for the whole of the journey. This theory is the same with the plane's hours-long flight without changing its path, and the lack of communication following the last message from the cockpit. There are also ideas about hijacking or terrorism. Some believe that someone on board might have taken over the plane, but so far, there's no strong evidence to show that happened. Investigators looked into the passengers and crew, but didn't find anything unusual or links to any group that might want to take down the plane. Another theory says that the plane was shot down by mistake by a military force. Some people think it might have gone off course and entered the wrong airspace. In that case, it could have been seen as a threat. But again, no government has admitted to such an event, and there's no solid evidence. Satellite data played a big part in shaping these theories. The plane's last known path was based on signals between it and a satellite. That's how experts found the seventh arc, the area of the southern Indian Ocean where they think the plane crashed. But even with all that data, no one knows why the plane went so far off course. The lack of wreckage has only made the mystery harder to solve. A few pieces of debris have washed up on beaches in Africa and on islands like Réunion and Madagascar. These parts match MH370, but they haven't told us exactly where the plane went down. Families of those on board are still seeking answers after all these years. There is more to the search for MH370 than merely finding a missing aircraft. It's about finding out what went wrong and stopping it from happening again. The world waits for experts to bring the truth out to the open and finally solve the MH370 issue. How can we explain the strange data and quiet signals that continued to come from the skies long after the plane went missing, if it really did disappear without a trace? Let's delve deeper. The strange signals and the silent clues. After the plane known as MH370 disappeared, something strange happened. Even though no one could find the plane, small pieces of data started to appear.
We have new details in the mystery of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. You might remember that plane vanished without a trace more than 2 years ago.
Well, officials are now confirming that 2 pieces of debris were in fact part.
These were not the usual kind of messages. They were something called satellite handshake signals. Now, most people didn't really know what that meant. But for the people who study planes and satellites, this kind of signal was important. Very important. These handshake signals were like a small hello between the plane and a satellite high above the Earth. Even though no one was flying the plane, and even though no one knew where it was, these signals kept happening. They didn't give full answers, like the plane's exact location or why it went missing. But they did say one thing for sure. The plane was still on, and it was still talking to the satellite. That alone was enough to shock people. The signals went on for about 7 hours after the plane vanished from radar. That's not a small thing. That's a long time for a plane to keep flying after disappearing from every screen. It made everyone wonder, where was it going? Who was flying it? Was someone still in control? The area where the signals led was a remote part of the ocean called the Southern Indian Ocean. It's a big, deep, lonely place. Not many planes fly over it. Not many ships go there. That made the search even harder, but it also made people even more curious. Why would a plane go there? Then came more strange news. Right before the signals started again, the satellite system on the plane, called the SATCOM, had been turned off. But then it came back on. This was not something that usually happens. Most planes keep that system on the whole flight. So the fact that it went off and came back on raised a lot of questions. Did someone do it on purpose? And if so, why? There was also a system on the ground in Malaysia called the ARS. This system listens for automatic reports from planes. It's like a quiet watcher that picks up signals and keeps track. After MH370 vanished, the ARS picked up a strange burst of activity, almost like something was turned off suddenly, and then something else came alive again. But no one really knows what it means. It's still a puzzle. These small clues, just bits of signal, timing, and silence, have kept the mystery alive. Every time someone looks at them again, new questions rise. But answers? Those are still missing, and that's the part that hurts the most. Families are still waiting, experts are still guessing, and the whole world is still wondering how a giant plane could just vanish, leaving behind only these strange, quiet signals. If these satellite handshakes and unexplained data were real, then why didn't they lead us straight to the plane? And what else was quietly happening in the background that we didn't see coming? Let's learn more. Weakness in the sky and the ghost that won't leave. When people think of airplanes, they often think of how safe and strong they are. But the story of MH370 changed that.
Today, we're pretty sure that what happened was 2 switches were pulled in that cockpit.
And you say were pulled. That suggests deliberate.
Deliberate.
What kind of deliberate acts?
Well,
Why?
maybe it was a hijacking.
It made everyone stop and ask, how could something like this even happen? Planes are built with many safety tools. They have backup systems. They have strong communication lines. They're tracked by radar and satellites. But on that day, it all seemed to fail, or someone made it fail. The systems that were supposed to tell us where the plane was went silent. The people who were supposed to hear from the plane heard nothing. And the passengers? They were gone without a trace. One of the biggest concerns was that if someone could turn off all the plane's signals, then maybe the plane wasn't taken down by accident. Maybe someone inside had planned something. That idea scared everyone, even the experts, because it meant this could happen again. Some people even asked, Could this be a weakness in how planes are made? Could someone with the right knowledge turn off all the tracking systems? Could a skilled pilot hide a plane from every eye in the sky? These questions became louder over the years, especially after other strange aviation incidents around the world. The story didn't just haunt the families, it haunted governments, airlines, and flight experts too. Many started pushing for better tracking systems that couldn't be turned off. Some new rules were made, some new tools were added. But for many people, the fear stayed. Because the biggest question still had no answer: why? Even now, over a decade later, people still talk about MH370, not just because of the missing plane, but because of what it revealed. It showed us that even in this modern age, with all our technology and satellites, something can still go missing. It showed us that the sky, which we thought we controlled, might still hold secrets. And until someone finds that wreckage, or someone tells the truth about what happened, MH370 will not rest. The families won't rest. The experts won't rest. The world won't rest. It's not just a missing plane. It's a ghost. A ghost flying through the skies of our minds, reminding us that even now, with all we've built, we can still lose something big. And we can still be left with nothing but questions and silence. Even after all these years, the mystery of MH370 hasn't faded away. The satellite handshake signals, the strange system reboot, and the possible tracking from places like ARS, they all leave behind more questions than answers. People still wonder how a modern plane could vanish without anyone truly knowing where or why. The technology was supposed to protect us. The systems were supposed to help us find it. But somehow, something failed. And maybe, just maybe, someone didn't tell us everything. That's why this story still haunts us. Because it could happen again, and because the silence still feels too loud. Do you think Ocean Infinity will succeed in their search? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.